All information in this program is known to be accurate at the time of recording. Any commentary by the host is for discussion purposes only. Anyone labeled a person of interest by the host or family has not been charged with a crime. All suspects charged with crimes related or unrelated to a case covered are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Opinions and views expressed by the host do not represent views of the families or sponsors of this program. In the U.S., there are over 600,000 missing person cases reported each year. Many go unnoticed by the general public and are not covered by the media or investigated by law enforcement. Here is just one of these stories. From Grim Media, I'm your host, Steve Stone, and this is the Grim Truth Podcast. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 34 of the Grim Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Stone. Welcome back to the channel. Before we begin, if you are interested in help looking for the missing, stories of the missing and the murdered, subscribe to the Grim Truth Podcast YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of the Grim Truth Podcast or any content on the missing and murdered. Leave us a like and a comment in the comment section down below and share the podcast. Help get this channel out to everybody who are like-minded, who want to be advocates for the missing, who want to help. Because you never know, somebody out there watching this video can help bring home a missing person. Today's episode is going to be about Brent Garcia, Brent's Army. Brent went missing from Sumter County, South Carolina on December the 26th, 2020. He was 18 years of age at the time of his disappearance, 5'11", 170 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. There is a $10,000 reward for the location of Brent or information that leads to finding Brent. The one thing about Brent's case is the things that the family has done to not only keep Brent's name out in the viewerverse, if you will, out in the open, out in public, to general view. And this case has had some media coverage, but the family just didn't stop there. The family and the community have done so much more, not only to keep Brent's face and name out there, but also to help the community. And I think this is kind of cathartic for the families, because a lot of families don't know what to do. A lot of families sit and ponder what can I do? How can I help my family member? What am I supposed to do? And this is one of the stories I felt needed to be told, because the one thing you can't control in a missing persons case is the fact that your loved one's missing. But it gives you some semblance of control. And that's what they've done. Brent, very good-looking young man, went missing. They didn't stop there. They created Brent's Army. Brent's Army is not just a logo or a saying. It's about community service. And what the family has done is they've taken the philosophy and the mindset, the only way we're going to keep Brent in the public eye is by holding fundraisers, going out in the community, doing things. And that is the way they have some semblance of control. And to a larger extent, it's bringing attention to Brent's case, but it's also bringing the community together. They've done so many things. If I'm not mistaken, the Sumter County donated some land for a memorial to go up for the missing. There's about 7 or 8 missing persons cases from Sumter County going back to the late 70s, if I'm not mistaken. So not only are they're trying to keep Brent's case wide open and in the public view, but they're doing things in the community. One of the things that they've done is they've created a highway cleanup where volunteers come around and they help do the cleanup. And they have, what they call swag, T-shirts, bracelets, hats, and these proceeds to these things, the shirts and all that stuff, goes to not only the reward, but also billboards and other things. And I got to tell you, I was overly thrilled and impressed when talking about this with Stacy, who has helped put these kind of things together. She works with the family, but they've done so much to really bring attention to Brent's case just by doing these things. The other thing that they've done too that I thought was awesome is there's a shoe drive. Step it up for Brent. And this is a shoe drive where shoes are donated and they're given out to those that need it. And what a novel idea. You're doing it. Brent apparently was a shoe guy. He liked shoes, and this was something that they loved to do. And I think that it's very, very awesome for a family to do something so positive for the community, and also that keeps Brent's memory alive and keep his case alive. And I think this is a great story. I think that at the end of the day, how does a family go on? And I think the perfect thing to do is create a brand. I mean, we're out there. We live in a world where these things right here are in our pockets. They're in our hands from the time we wake up till the time we go to sleep. Social media is well, in my opinion, social media is probably going to be the destruction of mankind. But it can be used for a tool. It's used for other stupid things, but it can be used for a tool. And what better tool than creating your own brand? Now, a missing persons case, I don't think it's a bad idea to turn it into a living, breathing thing, a brand, because it keeps the focal point on the individual. That's the smart thing. I mean, you couldn't advertise any better than what they've done here. I think it's a tremendous idea. It's, you're not necessarily, and some people will think, well, there are detractors that will say, is this kind of like, reveling in it or just negatively impacting the missing? But I don't think so, because not doing anything does negatively impact the missing. And I think that, moreover, continuing to put Brent in the spotlight and keeping his face out there, his name out there, you're not going to forget. And the other thing too is the community service. This is bringing a community together. They've done like the highway cleanup, the shoe drive, all these things are doing something within the community that get not only the community involved, but other missing people's families can look at this and go, we need to do this. And I think that this is an inspiring idea. I think that more people need to do it. And I think that this should be the future of all missing persons cases. You take the shitty situation that you're given, where an individual goes missing, and you completely turn it into a positive. Brent Garcia is missing. And think of the countless episodes we've done and how many cases aren't talked about or discussed. And if you look at this case and what goes on there in Sumter, this is one of those things that transcends a missing persons case. It changes. It's a game changer. It takes Brent's missing persons case and it completely flips it on its head, and it shows that, hey, as a family, as a community, we're not going to sit and I'm sure it's tough on Brent's mom. I'm sure it's difficult, but it's something that you can control. Like, you can't necessarily control the narrative in his case. That's definitely not something that anyone has control over, because he's gone. They don't know where he is. And I know the police are looking for him, but this gives you some control, that you're out there in the community and you're doing something great for Brent. And I think that's the big takeaway here is Brent's Army. Creating that brand, raising money, doing what you can to keep Brent's face out there with the billboards, and also bringing the community together by doing community service, highway cleanups, shoe drives. And this right here is, I think, one of the most terrific stories from a missing persons case. And it truly is a fantastic thing to do. And I want to see more families do it like this. Take this missing person case and turn it into a brand. And I think that this keeps not only hope alive for people, but also gives those who don't know what to do a purpose and a drive to keep fighting and keep continuing on to bring in their loved one home.
Please stand by for this important message from the Grim Truth Podcast.
While researching Brent Garcia's case for Brent's Army episode, I got an email from a source we are going to call Jason. This man reached out to me a week ago with information regarding the Brent Garcia case. And it's difficult for me to put my journalistic hat on and my advocate hat on sometimes. And I have a just duality conflict where I get information. I try to do my best to source it out as best I can. And when I looked into this case, no one's talking about Brent Garcia's case. And what I mean by nobody's talking about it, there is a lot of tight lip, but there's a lid on it. Now, I've asked to do this case several times to profile it and to go over it on the podcast, and I've been told, no. And I understand. I get it. However, as an advocate, I have to think about the missing person. In this case, it's Brent Garcia. And I have to weigh am I going to not try to help this young man who's not here, he's not with his family, or am I just going to sit on what I know and what I've been given and not report on it? Journalistically, I can report on it, but it's not about me. This is about Brent. So when Jason sent me an email with some information, I was troubled by it. And then I got a video. And so before we get into all that, I want to break the story down for you. Again, the family has not wanted it covered, and I understand that. I really do. And I don't know if Brent's mom knows any of this. I when I talk to people that I know that are involved in this case, they couldn't talk. And I understand that because there are boundaries and there are loyalties. But once again, I don't apologize for advocating for someone who can't speak for themselves. When I say voice for the voiceless, I mean it. When I say the grim truth and the truth of the matter, I mean that. So I decided that I'm going to tell this story because it needs to be told. The truth needs to be told. And I think that the covers need to be pulled off of people's eyes. And people need to take a look at these issues. And these are facts. This is not assumptions. This is not guesswork. These are facts. So let's go over this again. Now Brent did go missing on December the 26th, 2020. Fact. He also was involved with some things that might not have been on the up and up. And we don't, this is a nudge, this is a judge-free zone. I don't give a shit what a person does in life. Whatever they do, they don't deserve to go missing. Period, point blank, end of story. Let's introduce you to some key players in Brent's case. This is Dakota Brown. Dakota Brown is, I believe, a cousin. He's related to Brent. And from what I know, and the proof that I have, is that Brent Garcia spent December 26th, the early morning hours of December 26th, with Dakota Brown at Dakota Brown's house. These are all facts. And there's a video that I have that I'm going to show of Brent and Dakota together. The other person in this case is Brent's brother, Justin Garcia. Now, Justin Garcia is an interesting individual because Justin had some conflicting stories about what happened to Brent after Brent's disappearance, and we're going to get to that in a second. The issue with these three, with Brent, Dakota, and Justin, is there was a rumor that the three of them were behind a robbery or a where they stole either some drugs or some money. Now, this is a rumor. This is a rumor. It's not been proven at all. But that these three guys were all involved in this alleged ripoff of drugs, money, or both. And this led to some speculation that this might have been the reason why Brent ended up missing. Now, before we go on, I am going to show you this brief video of Brent and Dakota together on December 26, 2020. This is the last time Brent is seen. This is a very short clip. We're going to look at it a couple of times. We're going to look at it. I'm going to loop it a couple of times so you can see it. And then I've taken some still frames, and we're going to talk about it. And again, there are some things that we need to point out in regarding Brent's appearance and some of the things he allegedly said after this video was taken. And also, again, something doesn't seem right, and we're going to talk about it. So this isn't like a viewer discretion is advised thing, but this is this video according to Jason, only a few people have seen, but we have it, and we're going to air it now. Here's this quick video. We're going to loop it a couple of times, and then we are going to come back and talk about it. So here it is. So that was the video I was sent by Jason, and excuse me, I noticed some things. I've watched that video at least almost 24 times. I've slowed it down. I've taken still frames and looked at. Listen, I am not a facial expert when it comes to lighting and so forth. I'm not an expert. However, it does not take a rocket scientist to know several things. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. So we see this is Dakota. I did match it up with my facial recognition software. This is Dakota. The picture on the right, he looks a little healthy. The picture on the left, his face is sunken in. He doesn't look as good in that frame, but in that video, they make a noise. It's, you hear Brent go, doop, and then Dakota does it back. Dakota's working on something. There's music in the background. You see the Christmas tree. This was December 26th. So you hear him making a noise. As I looked at Brent, I noticed a couple of things, and I wanted to do a side-by-side comparison. Now, the picture on the right, you see Brent. He has... he does have like circles underneath his eyes, but they're not, they're not dark, and it looks different. If you look at the picture in the video, and I took a still from the video I got, and you look at it, if you look on because both eyes look like there is a circle, where it looks like a bruise, like a black eye. The left eye, I'm undetermined. That could be a shadow, but it looks like his eye is puffy there. Doesn't look like it looks like there's something going on, but definitely has a black eye under his right eye. And if you look at this picture here, and again, this was a grab off it looks like he can barely open his eyes. He also doesn't look too hot. His nose looks to be... Now, the nostrils of Brent's nose, they're kind of wide. But if you look at the base of his nose, or the top part, the bridge of his nose near the eyes, it looks a little puffy. To me, it looks like Brent got into a scuffle of some sort. And his face looks a little different. And again, the color could be the lighting, but again, if you look at the video, I'm going to show it one more time, at full speed. I want you to just judge for yourself. Again, I'm going to play the video one more time, and I want you to judge for yourself if you believe. And I want you to comment in the comment section down below. What do you think? Again, I am not a professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a forensic examiner. I see what I see, and again, I've slowed it down, but take a look at it again, and then we'll talk about it some more, and then we'll continue with the search for answers here on episode 34, Brent Garcia. So that was the video again, slowed down, of Brent with Dakota on the day after Christmas. Now, if you don't need a rocket scientist, so you don't need a degree to see that if you've looked at pictures of Brent, which I have, and you compare them to that video, a couple of things that stand out. One is the shiner underneath his right eye. His nose appears to be puffy. His face puffy in general, and he looks a bit gray. He doesn't look normal. He doesn't look like. I mean, that guy's a handsome man, and he looks nothing like what he appears in that video. A lot of reasons for that, but he looks like he got into a scuffle. Now, if we lay out a couple of things. Now, remember the story that Justin, Dakota, and Brent were all supposedly involved in what they call a take, where they took somebody's drugs, money, and or both. Again, this is a rumor that could not be sourced. I could not source it out. This is just hearsay, but that's what happened. And so then, and I don't know what point in time that is. Obviously, it had to have been before Brent disappeared. The thing that is interesting is are these timelines that we're gonna go into. So Brent spent the day after the Christmas at Dakota's. We see that in the video. Now, supposedly, according to Justin, Brent called him that day and said that Dakota was acting weird. Now, I want to preface that by saying Justin has changed his story several times. Now, Brent did make a call to his grandmother, and again, he appears to have trauma to his face. He has some marks on his forehead, possibly his hair, but definitely his eyes, his eyebrows. I mean, they look puffy. I mean, there's no mistaking that they look puffy. And maybe in this one, his nose doesn't look as bad, but I mean, he looks like he's in bad shape. I mean, he's obviously making noise. You know, he made that noise, and he's taking a video. That was him taking the video at Dakota's, but he just doesn't look right. Something's amiss there. But, you know, let's go back, you know, and here's the thing with Justin. Justin's original story that he talked to Brent on 26th December 2020, but then he's changed his stories to the point he's inconsistent. The authorities have not ruled him out. He's in the air. He's not been ruled out as a suspect. He's been inconsistent with his stories. The problem I have with this, and this is the problem I have with this. If a person has not been cleared by law enforcement, which means they haven't been cleared, then you can't have that person in the middle of the investigation, the search. He has knowledge. He has information. He has all the information regarding the case. He has all the intel. He knows what you're doing. And I get it. I understand that this Angel, the mom, she got a kid that she doesn't know where he is, or if he's alive, and the potential, the possibility, the potential that something's wrong with Justin's story, and that he may be involved. But you cannot have him in the kitchen cooking, because it's disastrous. Until he's cleared, you're going to have to love him from afar. You can't keep him in that inner circle because you just don't know. And he was just on a search. This is a problem. This is something definitely, if it was me, you have to love him from afar until he's cleared. And there's more to that too, because the rumor is, the information that I got, and it's not a rumor, this was in the email from Jason, that, you know, he said he's talked to the detectives said they ain't heard from him. So if there's difference in stories and difference in he says what the cops say. I mean, he can't be involved. You got to keep him at an arm's length. You can't have him. You have to have operational security when you're. If you don't want a podcaster, or somebody talking about the case, and I was told the cops didn't want the family talking to me. A PI said they didn't want to talk to me. I think when it comes down to it, someone's got to be telling this family the truth, and it's difficult and it's grim. But you cannot have a person like Justin, who has not been cleared, involved in this, and it's detrimental to the case, and it's definitely an issue. Dakota has also not been cleared. He's not been cleared himself. And the thing about Dakota, this is a fact. He contacted his father, Dean, I believe his name is, to move furniture at 1:30 in the morning after Brent went missing. So, while the family's done a wonderful job with Brent's army in keeping his name out there and his just keeping him out there and doing all these community things, there's too many people involved in Brent's case. There's too many handlers. There's too many people with information. There's too many people that know things that I don't think that they're really being a good steward and telling the mom everything that's going on. Or talking to mom and saying, listen, we have to do it this way. You can have an inner circle, and you can have advisors and a group of people that are helping, and you should have those people. But you should also have the people that aren't going to be the yes men, that aren't going to sugarcoat things, that are going to give you the God's honest truth, even when it's hard to hear, and say, look, this needs to happen. The grim truth about Brent Garcia's case is simply this. The more secrets, the more stuff that's kept in a under the blankets, under the covers, regarding certain information, the harder it is it's going to be to get the answers you need for Brent. Furthermore, if a person's integrity is into question, if Justin's integrity is in question, if his stories have changed, and this is a fact, then you cannot have him involved searching for him. You cannot have him an intricate part of what's going on with Brent. And I know, I talked to Justin about Brent's army and the things that they do, but personally, after I got the emails from Jason and doing this, I would not have him involved in anything. I would keep him at an arm's distance, and it's got to be tough for them. It's got to be tough for their mother, Angel. It's got to be tough. But when you have Brent's dad, who I hear is a piece of work, saying they're not going to find Brent, I mean, when somebody says we're not going to find somebody, how the fuck do you know that? Do you have some crystal ball, or do you know something? And that's troubling in this case. But at the end of the day, and if you want this investigation to succeed, and I want this investigation to succeed, I want the cops to find out what happened to Brent Garcia, because it's a huge case in that area. It's huge. But you're going to have to make tough decisions. You're going to have to probably tell some people, I firmly believe, and I know it's got to be tough for the mom, but she firmly needs to take over this investigation herself, take over the information, come to some real hard realizations, and it's going to be, there's no doubt about this is tough. And no way am I disparaging her or the family, but I am saying, and this is just my opinion. This is, take it or leave it, my opinion. And tell me what you think in the comments down below. If Justin has not been cleared, and his stories have changed, would you keep him involved in the investigation? Would you let him know what's going on? What would you do? I wouldn't. I'd get him out of there until he's cleared. And I hope he is cleared. But until that happens, he can't be involved. Because this is about Brent. It's about finding Brent. It's about finding, there's no such thing as closure, but it's about finding the truth. Because Brent's not here. And I believe something happened to him, and I believe somebody in his circle knows what happened to him. This wasn't a stranger abduction. This was somebody that knew Brent, and they're hiding it, they're covering it up, and that's the grim truth of this case. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to episode 34. And I really wanted to focus on the positive things that Brent's family is doing with this case. I wanted to focus on that. But when I also have to advocate for the missing person, and that in this case is Brent. And as I'm looking into the camera right now, and I'm talking directly to Brent's mom, I'm here for you. If you need that help, I offer my services to help get to the bottom of this. But there's wanting the truth and talking about the truth are two different things. And you deserve that as a mother. You deserve to know. And I hope that Justin doesn't have anything to do with this. I just hope that maybe he knows something that somebody told him, and he's afraid to come forward about it. But if his story has changed so much that needs to be seriously looked at and judged by you, Mom, to make sure that the right thing's going on. I mean, no parent wants to think that another sibling did something to another sibling, and then I'm not saying that that's happened, but again, if he hasn't been cleared, and that's knowledge, then arm's length and focus on finding, because that's the problem. We need to know where Brent is. I want to thank everybody for tuning into episode 34, Brent's Army, and the search for answers. This is not an easy case, obviously, and it's all about the truth. It's all about getting the answers. It's all about advocating, and it's about doing it in a compassionate way that's not being judgmental. But the truth must come out. Thank you for watching this episode of the Grim Truth Podcast. Thank you for tuning into the channel again. Subscribe to the podcast. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode of the podcast or any other content related to the missing and the murdered. And as always, I'm your host, Steve Stone, and this has been the Grim Truth Podcast.